and welcome to the debate. My name is Naila Shuja. Now, today we are delving into the discussions of the implications of PTI's political dharnas, which are sit-in protests, and the disruptions that they cause not only at the sites of the protests, but also across the Pakistan as a whole, and along with the broader economic consequences for the society itself. Now, furthermore, this issue is not going to be limited just to Pakistan alone. Its impact extends beyond our borders as well. Now, that being said, because no country prohibits the people from peacefully protesting and voicing their demands, however, violence during the protests, that is a big no-no and a deliberate attempt to sabotage economic progress of one's own country. It's harming the entire nation's growth and the well-being of its citizens, right? So it should not be allowed, and that is in bold, it's in capital, and that is what it is. So furthermore, it's because of the negative impact of these repeated demonstrations of the nation and on the society that are not tolerated anywhere in the world. And for our second segment, viewers, we will be delving into how the Foreign Office of Pakistan has urged India not to politicize the Champions Trophy. And it seems like India is choosing not to visit Pakistan for the Champions Trophy, and that's why Pakistan Cricket Board has requested and reached out to the International Cricket Council for a formal written explanation to why India's refusal to travel to Pakistan for the upcoming 2025 ICC Champions Trophy. Now, coming back to the segment of the issues of PTI's politics of protest and agitation and its political unrest on the economic tail, it is important to welcome our wonderful senior analyst here in the studio. Farrukh, Pitafi, a warm welcome to you, and Faisal, a very, very warm welcome to you both. And joining us on Skype, we are going to be joined by Dr. Niaz, a Murtaza political analyst, as well as Faad, Waheed, who is an economist. Now, again, it is a very crucial moment, again, because PTI's founder and chairperson has declared that the 24th of November is basically going to happen on the 24th of November, and there is going to be a sit-in, or a dharna as it's called. Now, again, coming to you, Farrukh, what do you see that's going to be happening on the 24th?
Right. Thank you very much, Naila. Actually, while coming to this program, I was thinking how to approach this issue, because 2 weeks ago, I wrote a column on this as well. I have this weekly column, so it is called Overlook a Maze. There's a horror movie called Shining, in which there is a maze which shows the kind of confusion and desperation that might arise from horrible events. So in that column, I actually recapped my experience of living in Islamabad for 20 years, past 20 years especially. Whenever there was a sit-in or there was some kind of important VIP traffic, one thing that I remember repeatedly that actually scared me about my own body and my own well-being. Since 2013, we started seeing these sit-ins in the Islamabad, and because of that, every time they would come, first of all the commuting would disrupt, and after that also there was huge personal emotional toll as well. And this was my experience. A journalist who has some means, I really wonder what exactly became of the common man on the street. And that is not all. Apart from that also, when you look at the timing of this sit-in, this call, one has to wonder what exactly is going on. One theory that one seems to have is that PTI's leadership has been inhaling its own propaganda that Donald Trump is going to come and somehow order everybody to actually release Khan Sahab. So they are trying to actually bargain through these protests. My humble submission is, whatever you do, when you disrupt your life in the capital, it makes life really hard. And that shouldn't be encouraged, because in the end, there are so many aggrieved parties in the country, and if they start coming to Islamabad and blocking it, you will never hear the end of it. Naila.
Absolutely. Very interesting points that you have raised, Farrukh. Now, a warm welcome to our guests who have joined us on Skype, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, who is a political analyst, and Faad, who is an economist. A huge welcome to you guys. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out and joining us here on the debate. Now, it is important. Very nice. Now, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, I'd like to pose this question to you as well. Given that the government has all the right to ensure the dissent is expressed constructively within the legal frameworks, in a democracy, we all have the right to protest, to preserve both individual rights and the national stability as well. Violence and economic disruption basically undermine the democratic process and hinder the peaceful resolution of conflicts. That being said, what should we be expecting from PTI on the 24th of November?
Thank you very much for inviting me. I think there's several different lenses from which we can look at this issue. First of all, whether it's even going to happen, because you're hearing conflicting, news from different people, even within PTI. There is some news that, several leaders within the PTI are going to urge Imran Khan to call it off because of the fact whether the party would be able to come up with a strong enough dharna processions, etc., to be able to have any kind of impact. So that is one thing. We've seen this happen before when protest calls, dharnas were called off at the last moment, or they did not really morph into something so big that they would disrupt life at large, and then go on to affect the national economy, especially. Even what you had a few weeks back, it did disrupt life badly within Islamabad, but in terms of overall impact on the national economy, economic stability, etc., there wasn't such a huge thing. Then the next thing is whether there is a justification for doing that. There, I think compared to the 2014 Dharna, I think PTI is in a stronger position now because of several provocations. The fact that so many of its leaders are languishing in jail without proper convictions. The same kind of NAB laws that were used surprisingly by PTI itself against PMLN from 2018 to 2022. Now PMLN is unfortunately returning the favor and using the same kind of tacky tactics, just throwing people into jail, keeping them into jail, especially Imran Khan, who's not into jail because of any conviction, but just because of the NAB law, which allows you to keep people indefinitely in jail.
Excellent.
Then but still, even if PTI does hold a dharna in light of its right, of course, it would have to make sure that it stays peaceful. There is no violence, and obviously, both sides will have to,
Absolutely.
make sure about that. And also,
Absolutely.
the fact that the life of people in Islamabad, as Farrukh was saying, if every group comes in, so I think it's important for both sides to come to some sort of a resolution on the site of the dharna, the procession, so that it doesn't affect life in Islamabad. But more important than that, I think the government should also look at removing some of the provocations which are providing ammunition, justification to PTI in terms of the crackdown on
Understood.
the party
Absolutely.
and so on.
Absolutely. Father, what say you? What's going to happen and how is this going to implicate the lives of the people, the hardworking citizens of the Islamabad Capital Territory and the surrounding areas when this sit-in takes place?
Naila, this is a very burning issue, and I think from the past, I think we've learning from the 12-year span that we see from this specific political party. It's a disruption of economy in a total when I say this, because a lot of movement in the capital is more about the diplomats and the business delegations that arrive in Pakistan, and usually the route taken into Pakistan is through Islamabad. And sabotaging the capital is not the effective way to do this. I think everything is going to come back to table talk. So I think, and I've always been a pro of, not having these dharna sit-in cultures in Islamabad, especially. And also, I would like to indicate here that, if nobody has mentioned that, that recently there was an Assembly Act passed. It's called the Islamabad Peaceful Protest Assembly Act. It was done by the government, the PMLN government, and there's a specific place for these sit-ins and protests that's taking place in Pakistan. Mind you, what we have to understand from this, from an economic point of view, there's billions in losses when we talk about any kind of sit-ins, and this anticipation of 24th November is already, lurking in the capital, since we already have two major interchanges underway. This is going to be another hindrance, because a lot of activity that happens in the main belts of Islamabad are going to be disrupted again, and we're going to, Islamabad is going to suffer. And I have been very vocal as the senior vice president of Islamabad Chamber about the same thing. And we don't endorse such sit-ins. We do endorse talks. We do endorse table talks. And I have already invited and been in touch with some parties that we can try to mitigate. We can try to talk between the parties if they can have some kind of resolution of not doing these sit-ins. It's a huge loss. The loss we've recently calculated is about 1.6 billion in taxes that we're going to face over this span of sit-in. So I think it's very important that all the political parties sit together and sort way out, instead of these sit-ins. And especially I'm allergic to this political party at this point, because people in these areas, especially the blue area of Islamabad, is a very heavy traffic area and a very customer friendly area, if I may say. And lots of people are leaving those hot areas just because of these protests. So I think it's a big red flag at this point.
Faisal, Faad is saying that it is a huge red flag. Do you agree?
Yes, I do, and I was listening to Faad very keenly. Reason being, this is what my expectation is. Whenever there is a sit-in, and if there is a date for the sit-in, and somebody, a political group or political party is approaching towards the capital itself, then suddenly, if you look towards the stock exchange drops itself. And we have been seeing a trajectory in recent past that the improvement in the stock exchange was there. And I think that needs to be sustainable in terms of, if we want to carry on with this trajectory of our economy. It means that when we are trying to better our economy, we have to have stability in that trajectory. And if these kind of political hindrances are being created in coming days, then I believe there will be a sort of chaos in terms of Pakistan losing a chunk of its economy as well. And to be very fair, every fiscal year what we see is that there are several number of sit-ins, several number of protests, and every protest carries an economic cost to it. And that economic cost, if it is accumulated for a year, every fiscal year, if that economic cost is not there, then our economy would have been doing very well in terms of sustaining all of the pressures on itself. But when it comes to other aspects, as Farrukh has rightly pointed out earlier, that daily life of people, it gets hurt in throughout Islamabad, capital city, and even the kids. I mean, right now kids are having holidays in Punjab for smog. That too is a factor in terms of their education getting affected. And what if right after the smog, when they are going back to the school once more, they will be given the holidays, and in Islamabad especially they will be giving holidays once more, because there is a sit-in going on and there is a basic hurdle to get to your school and to get to your work, and life at large, it would be of course facing hurdles. And to me, I think that too is a very problematic for the people who are living in Islamabad. And as it has been mentioned by Dr. Niaz earlier about the diplomatic sectors as well, I mean, we know that in recent past there were positive indications of attracting the investments in Pakistan, and Pakistan's economy was attracting that. But in this whole scenario, when we see that there are uncertain clouds over the political stability of Pakistan that actually hits our economic stability as well. And if them political instability clouds are highlighted once more, the investors who are thinking about and are interested in investing in Pakistan, in different sectors of Pakistan, they might get deterred from these kind of activities. To me, the best solution, which earlier Faad pointed out, is that rather than arranging all of these sit-ins, political parties should behave maturely, be it opposition party or be it the ruling party. I think the best way to sit in is to sit on the table of negotiations, negotiate on the table rather than on the roads, and try to come to a solution. There are many faces within the ruling party as well who have excellent connections within the within the opposition side. They can talk to them. There are people from People's Party who can talk to the opposition party. There is a way out of this havoc, and that way out should be reached through dialogue rather than dragging each other on the roads.
Absolutely. So Farrukh, Faad and Faisal have pointed out something very interesting, that the matter should be resolved on the table. Now, I'd like to just be very clear when I say this, that Asma Bukhari, Punjab Information Minister, has stated that PTI's political approach is worse than straight politics, right? And she stated that the PTI's leaders are hypocrites. She specifically quoted Mr. Nawaz Sharif and reiterated that he is saying that we will keep building roads while PTI will keep roaming them. Further stating that PTI founders' political life seems to be revolving around seeking leniency and making deals, contrasting this with the country's renewed prosperity and increased developments. Would you care to comment on this?
Right. You're asking me to comment on another comment. That is quite intriguing. Look, she's entitled to her views. One thing is for sure in Pakistan's politics, all political parties, especially the one who is actually now speaking against against establishment of the country, they also are always eager to cut deals. And that's why we repeatedly see, there's good cop, bad cop, pattern going on coming from PTI. There is suggestion that they're going to fight, and then there's suggestion that they want to talk to nobody but the establishment. So this goes on. My problem is that given our politics, and now it is almost global, there is a problem of, there is a specter of populism. And populism, it is not sad that populist leaders usually resort to this kind of things. The sad thing is that it usually kind of sort of works. Look at America, look at India, look at many Muslim countries which actually go for any kind of charade of democracy, right? This repeatedly keeps on happening. So we have to find a way to discourage people from resorting to these means. And now the problem, earlier I was saying that it started in 2013. Let me correct myself. It started with one really mad movement, that was lawyers movement, and I'm calling it mad despite the fact that at that time I was also supporting it, mea culpa, that it was a bad idea. And at that time this idea of actually agitation on the street, using media as another arm to actually wrestle with the government was invented, and it has been perfected since, and repeatedly it happens. But in 2013-14, Naila, first time Qadri Sahab came, the dharna was next to my children's school. For a month they couldn't go to school, right? Similarly in 2014, repeatedly this happened. They were sitting next to PTV, and I used to cross their crowd, and there was always this fear that anybody can lose their temper and attack me. Remember, there was an SSP, Junejo. I think Faisal is finding some levity in this situation, but I assure you that at that time it looked existential. So when you talk to these political parties, they say that if we don't actually sit and disrupt life, then media does not notice. One example is Jamaat Islami's, another is TLP's first dharna before Faizabad. At that time, nobody took notice. So now there is this catch-22. But the concern is that in 2013, I could understand that the state did not see this coming. But to 2024, now 11 years later, the state still cannot see it. I remember that my children's education was kind of lost during COVID also. For 1 year, they sat inside their home. But after that, repeatedly it happens that every time there is an election, there is an examination going on, they are forced to sit home because there is some dharna and we cannot be too sure about their safety. If this is what as a citizen I am going to actually endure, what exactly am I going to think about my politics? So I think that while populism keeps on marauding and impacting everybody, sadly, we have to come up, we haven't been able to come up with a solution, and if we don't, we know what happens then.
Absolutely. So, Faad, coming to you, carrying forward what Farrukh has stated, this hell-bent objective of creating disruption, chaos, and anarchy, help me understand why they're so hell-bent on causing this harm to society.
I think the real answer lies in not just populism, but also it's a question of nationalism. These people that come out to protest, they don't understand the magnitude. They don't actually they aren't really, I think, educated, or I don't think they are very well informed of the situation of how Pakistan is, thriving through these hard times. And we have been for the past 12 years. Every time there's a huge event and a success event or a positive event or a positive image event of Pakistan to the world, these political parties have some other means to ruin it. But at the same time, we have to togetherly work at the nationalism part of it. Having said that, it's very important to understand the gravity of the situation. That recently we just passed through a huge event, a positive event, that was the SCO summit, and the same threat was lurking. So yes, as Farrukh has also mentioned in the same context, the fear of living in Islamabad is now taking its toll. So nevertheless, as a running economy and stakeholders of Islamabad, we have very high hopes that the government is going to work through it. I did some research work on the dharnas and the protests and the sit-ins for the past 2 months, and I've been seeing that this is becoming a trend rather than becoming something of political interest. It's more of hanging over the economy, because nobody from the political party is losing anything, but the economy of Pakistan, the stakeholders, the private investors, the local residents of Islamabad are losing their money. It's not the political party. So the political parties and these supporters have to understand the day they come out for a protest in Islamabad, there's millions of kids that are out of school that day. There's millions of people that go home without a pay that day. So that has to be understood as well. This is not a small thing that one day not going to school is not going to affect him, or one day's pay is not going to affect him. We live in a very I think I wouldn't really rather cater the word, but we live in a very low income society, and we have to mitigate all obstacles that come forward. The problem with the government of Pakistan has always been, whatever the government party is, the problem is whenever there is a protest, there's not an end date to it. There's not proper agreements to it. So whenever there's probably a protest that's supposed to end at 6 o'clock in the night, it would go up to the next day, and the government is always at stake, because the onus of security lies with the government. And these protests, given I would say, and it's a stimulus of instigating more. I wouldn't name it, but it gives us more chances to miscellaneous and mischievous acts that can happen in such crowds. So I think the political party and the government of Pakistan at this point really and truly have to understand, because all of our chambers, all of the business community of Pakistan is now at the verge of taking things into their own hands, and we are actually thinking of staging our own discussion with the government that if they want to have a protest, they can do their press conferences anywhere, they can do their talks anywhere, but not in the capital, not on the roads, not disrupting life as usual. Because whenever the news goes out in the other countries, it's all telling you about how Pakistan is choked. There's no more business in Pakistan for the day, and it's not easy because even our external neighbors are not in our favor. So every time they have an idea, they'll just jump on it and badmouth Pakistan. So that is something I highly say, it's about nationalism and not just populism at this point. But we really have to cater this as a national factor, that not going out on the roads, not protesting, and not hurting our own law enforcing agencies. But at the same time, we have to understand every day of protest also not just hurts the economy, but hurts the government exchequer. The sales tax, the taxes that the government collects every day, it's also affected.
Faad, you've raised some very interesting points, and we'll be coming to those shortly. I just want to get Dr. Murtaza's opinion on this. What do you think? Are they actually trying to regress? Why are they trying to regress all the progress that has been made?
Well, of course, nobody would like, life in Islamabad to get disturbed over and over and again. Nobody would like, the national economy to get harmed because of, ongoing protests. But then, beyond that, you have to look at whose fault it is and how much. And for that, you have to look at, whether, the party that is, doing the protest, whether its rationale is justified or not. And if its rationale is justified or not, where the provocation is coming from. If it's coming from the government, then you also have to, put some blame on the government. And then the second thing is, even if it has, the right rationale, are there other forums available given to, parties who have grievances by the government? Is the parliament functioning? Are the courts functioning? Government allowing them to function? But if the answer to even that comes in a no, then you also have to assign some blame, some responsibility for all this, the disruption in Islamabad, the loss to the national economy, not just to the parties that are protesting, but also to the government in power. And so that is why it's important for the government to take some initiatives to, first of all, remove the underlying, the root causes that are creating this grievances, and then also provide other, strong forums. Let, Parliament be a really strong forum where, different issues can be discussed. Let our
Dr.
courts
Saab,
be free
Dr.
so
Saab,
that,
sorry to cut you.
parties
Sorry for
can
the
go to that.
interjection. I just wanted to actually, pose a counter question, because you said that some blame actually is on the government also. Now the question is, if the government and the opposition do not actually see eye to eye, and both sides don't mend fences, do they get the right, especially the opposition, to come and disrupt my life, sir?
Well, I mean, of course, the opposition has to do it in a way that they don't disrupt ordinary people's life. That I agree with you. So there should be some agreement between the government and the opposition. Okay, you do it in a certain place, in a certain ground where, you get your freedom of expression without, infringing upon the freedom of movement of other places. That I would agree. And again, the government, rather than just completely banning it, should, enter into a dialogue and give an opportunity for the opposition at a certain place where the disruption is minimized.
All right. So,
I
Faisal, do you
think
think dialogue?
I answered that question when I said, there's a peaceful Islamabad Assembly Act. There's a specific place in Sanjani. They can have their protest set up there. And, that's not going to disrupt any life.
Yeah.
Of course. So, Faisal, do you seem to agree with what Dr. Murtaza and Faad and Farrukh are saying?
All of them, they have said different things, and I would obviously fully agree with Dr. Niaz when he was highlighting that there are grievances from the other side as well. Look, I think it gets a toll on the opposition party as well to gather the people and bringing them to Islamabad, and I think none of the political parties, when they are in the opposition, they want to actually go through that exercise, because that exercise is not only tiring for the government, tiring for the people at large, but it is tiring for the opposition party itself as well, and they have a cost to pay as well, human cost to pay as well. Both sides, they get to pay a human cost to these kind of arrangements. So to me, I think
Crimea River.
Yeah,
Finish that thought.
thank you for interrupting, Farrukh.
Yeah, you
Thank very
were
much.
laughing. I'm just adding to it.
I was not laughing. You can't see me, Farrukh.
My suffering.
Farrukh, this is the problem.
My
Whenever I
suffering-
sit down or
Hang on.
I
My
cough,
suffering.
you feel like I'm laughing. when I
look.
cough. It's not the laugh.
Okay, it was coughing. Okay, thank you very much for
You
clearing.
can't see me directly, Farrukh.
But
That is what the
I can.
as it was earlier mentioned that they can't see eye to each other. Opposition
but-
and the government.
but,
That is why
explain-
there are problems.
No, hang on.
between them.
Enough
You know?
of gaslighting. Tell
Please, thank you.
tell me, what right does any political party have to disrupt my life? When PTI was in government, at that time Maulana Fazlur Rahman came, I was equally critical. Why should common man suffer?
Farrukh, every common man, including the opposition party and including the ruling party, whoever hails from whichever the corner of the country, they have a right to protest when they are feeling.
Next time they
when
should
are
have the
feeling.
right to bring guns and shoot us down as well.
Thank
you very much for creating that kind of
I'm pretty
precedent
much
also.
sure neither any of the law of the land nor the law which is regulating the whole world does allow that.
And
Nobody allows that.
SSP was beaten to pulp in 2014. There was no action taken.
Farrukh, there are incidences which can be mentioned here, which I can mention as well. But here we have to get to the conclusion how to safeguard our own country, our own capital, and this is the way to go forward. As Dr. Niaz has rightly pointed out, that the ultimate solution is on the table, and that table should be designed before it starts, rather than waiting for the havoc to be created and later on starting to figure out where to sit and what are the terms and conditions about it. Yes, there are certain reservations of the opposition party, and they need to be dealt with, and I think the best solution is to send in the people who are acceptable on the other side as well for the talks. And the best way to counter all of this problem is to talk about it. And I think there are right people who can do it, and which is, I am expecting that in coming days, even from the government side, there will be people extending, sort of a message towards the other side to come down on the table and sit down and let's have a talk about it. Yes, there are problems which keep on highlighting from the other side as well, and they need to be addressed, and I think they will be addressed in coming days before the 24th. And we should all hope that we shouldn't be going through that kind of exercise, which is not good for my country, not good for my city, not good for me as an individual.
All right, gentlemen, let's calm ourselves and really understand. Okay, so I'd like to second Farrukh's point. Your democratic right ends where my freedom begins, right? Farrukh, that's what you're saying. So one person's liberty should never come at the cost of another's. Now, this is a repetitive pattern that has been chosen by the PTI to win the political gains by sabotaging Pakistan's economic progress. And we know that Pakistan's government is taking the right direction, and it's trying to uplift the country and bring investment opportunities into Pakistan by inviting and welcoming foreign investors. Now, Faad, that being said, I'd like to understand your perspective as an economist.
Well, Naila, well thought here, a beautiful question. This government in the past 3 years, I've been working very closely with them as a senior vice president of the chamber. We have seen a lot of interest being built by this government for other countries to invest into Pakistan. If you just, recap 6 months ago, we had the Saudi delegation, we had the Qatar delegation, then we recently had the Prime Minister of Malaysia visit Pakistan with their delegation. These days, the Russian delegation is in Pakistan looking at investment. We had the SCO summit, hosting of SCO summit. On the sidelines, we had a lot of discussion with China on CPEC. And the same things, repetitively, as you've mentioned, they do take a toll. And I'm just going to add this to the previous conversation that I do understand what Mr. Niaz is mentioning and how Raja Faisal has responded to it. But
All right,
keeping that in
wonderful.
view,
Okay, so I'd like to thank you both for joining us. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, political analyst, who's joined us on Skype, and Faad Waheed, economist, who's joined us on Skype, as well as the understanding of what is going on regarding the political situation that is going to be on the 24th of November. Now, we're going to be taking a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the debate. Now, in our second segment, we are discussing how the Foreign Office has urged India to not politicize the Champions Trophy. And seems like India is choosing not to visit Pakistan for the Champions Trophy. And that's why Pakistan Cricket Board has officially reached out to the International Cricket Council requesting a formal written explanation regarding India's refusal to why it's choosing to not come to Pakistan for the 2025 ICC Champions Trophy. So, Faisal, why? That's the question on my mind. Why?
Is simply hegemonic behavior of India as a state, bigotry of India as a state, which has been, of course, politically seen as well in the region and throughout the world. When, of course, it comes to their political decisions. Here we are standing where the cricket starts, and cricket is the most important sports in Pakistan and India. Both of the countries, they have a huge liking for it, and it's a lifestyle in both of the countries. And what happens is, in cricket they have started politics as well, not today, not yesterday, since a long time. And of course we have been seeing that they had this hegemonic and bigotry kind of behavior involved in cricket as well, where we saw that they came up with the idea of big three, in which of course they neglected all of the other cricketing nations, and they took over the control of ICC, and that control they have since long taken over, and now they are the ones who are in a position to call the shots. And whenever they see where Pakistan can, of course, represent itself and can on the larger stage of cricket can make a name and can portray as the cricket is alive, they do not entertain at all, and they come up with these kind of hegemonic stances against Pakistan right now, when the whole world is ready to come to Pakistan, when the whole world is ready to play in Pakistan, and when the whole world believes that Pakistan is safe enough to play there. It is India that comes up with its known bigotry once more, and it says that it would not be coming to Pakistan. I think it was a right point where Pakistan is taking the explanation from their side. All of these Amit Shah and his son that are calling the shots from India, that kind of bigotry must end now, and cricket should be taken as a game which is equally loved by people of Pakistan and India. So I believe that peace must be given a chance, cricket must be given a chance.
Most definitely. So Pakistan did travel to India for the 2023 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup, but India doesn't think that's the appropriate move for them. But England, New Zealand, and Bangladesh have traveled to Pakistan for their respective matches, and thank God, everything is great, everything is wonderful. I really don't understand why India is honestly speaking, being a little insecure about this. Farrukh, what say you?
Right, Naila, when you pray, and whenever everybody prays and one asks for health, wealth, stability and power, right? So next time you pray, also pray that with that kind of wealth, power, influence, you also get the heart that is proportional to that bigness that you are asking for. Unfortunately, in India's case, it seems that while the baby has grown muscles, while it has become very rich, its head keeps on and heart keeps on shrinking. Otherwise, this petty bullying I mean, the way they treat, usually what happens, Naila, whenever countries actually progress, they take their neighbors along. What are Asian tigers? When Japan's economy started getting better, it actually spread the wealth. America, look at America. There are two neighbors. Mexico, economy is booming. Look at Canada, its economy is also good, right? India seems to be a country that believes that the more power it gets, the more right it has to bully its neighbors and to take their resources at its own. And because of that, unfortunately, I have to actually use another analogy, and that is of cancer. What happens in cancer? In cancer, one cell actually grows up beyond its proportion and starts eating up nourishment of other cells around it. So India doesn't seem to understand that it is growing in power, and at least now it should actually leave behind its petty-minded colonial thought process. And when a country like Pakistan is ready to play with them, they should also be showing the big-heartedness that is needed. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that happening.
Absolutely. So I feel like there is a recollection that I can recall from my childhood. I used to watch this movie, The Grinch, and I feel like someone's heart has shrunk twice their size. So viewers, that's all the show we have for you for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. A huge thank you to our guests who joined us online and our senior analysts in the studio, Farrukh, Pitafi and Raja Faisal. Thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in yourself. This is Naila, Shuja. You were watching the debate here on PTV World. Take care.